Hey, I'm Derek, and welcome to Stop Skeletons from Fighting. So there I was, streaming Doom with the Dark Ages on my Discord, giving my first impressions. But then the question came. So far, does this feel like it deserves to be an $80 game? I don't think fucking anything deserves to be an $80 game. Now, for the record, I actually really like Doom the Dark Ages a lot after it finally clicked with me, and it is not $80, it is $70 or $100 for the premium edition. But that's just where we are right now. Well, that is until just days before dropping Silksong, Team Cherry announced the highly anticipated sequel will only be $20. But how funny would it be if they charged $20 for the base game and then $70 for each DLC? And I know it's not fair to compare those games. There's the debate between, well, with inflation, cartridge-based games in the 90s were more expensive, but way higher cost of living today makes it more expensive now. And then there's the hours to dollars ratio that factors into determining value. There's a lot of things to consider, but also, shut up. Don't comment. Stop. Because for this video, I don't care about the economics. The economics. I don't even know how to say it right. I don't even care about the economics or even how to say that word right. I am not here to talk about inflation. I am not here to talk about tariffs. God damn it, I am really not here to talk about tariffs. Some prices will just always be ridiculous. $110 for both Last of Us games. Games you definitely already own if you care at all about The Last of Us. I'm not even a huge fan. Even I have 2 copies. And if you want to play them on your PS5 Pro, that's $700 before the tax hike, plus $80 for an actual disc drive. I saw this at a Best Buy, and I thought, maybe that's just that store, but nope. Once this sale ends, it is back to $100 for Suicide Squad. But then again, some prices will always be incredible, and I don't mean Steam sales, franchise, or Game of the Year bundles. Buy the glory of Fat Sonic! That is too much Kingdom Hearts and Borderlands! No, I'm talking about brand new games that were cheap. That's what I'm talking about right now. Though it is fun clowning on some recent headlines. Oh man. Woo! To PS4! No. Let's have some fun. Let's take a look back through history at times when buying new video games didn't kill your wallet. But first, I need my good luck puppy launchpad. Hey boy. Wait, do you spell goods and services? I'm concerned about our finances as well, Launchpad. And thankfully, Rocket Money is here to help us. Well, the good news is Launchpad is going to be set on his food for a while now. The bad news is, to save a couple of bucks, I hit auto ship and forgot to turn that off. And it's like, man, what the heck else did I forget to unsubscribe to? Our sponsor for this video, Rocket Money, helps me with my finances. With just a few clicks, they can help you unsubscribe from things you ain't even watching or using. That's how they get you. And for me, it was charges that were cutting into Launchpad's treat fund. Need to get a handle on that. Very important. You know, in these times, we gotta look out for each other. Thankfully, there's Rocket Money. Rocket Money is an easy-to-use, all-in-one personal finance app that helps you cancel subscriptions, lower your bills, and manage your money better. And let me tell you the peace of mind that comes with a balanced budget. It gives you more time, of course, for good quality pets and scratches. Go to rocketmoney.com/stopskeletons or click the link in the description below to get started for free. But with my link, you are free to try it out and see if you like it first. That is rocketmoney.com/stopskeletons or click the link in the description below. We want to thank Rocket Money for sponsoring this part of the video. I do want this video to in some way help your finances, but what I do not want this video to be, I also don't want this video to just be hollow nostalgia. You know, back in the day, things were much better, everything sucks now. Nah, because things are awesome right now too. Like this recent game, UFO 50. UFO 50 is a 50-in-1 set of retro-inspired games. It is Action 52 if all the games were great. And I know it way undercuts this game to describe it like that, but that kind of is the best pitch for UFO 50, unless you don't know what Action 52 is.
Shitty graphics, shitty music, shitty menus, and a fuck ton of other things.
Yeah, something like that. And that was $200 in 1991 money, but in 2025 money, UFO 50 is $25, and it is 50 retro games that are at least good, and most are bangers. Even the ones I didn't like, it was more they just didn't click with me, not that they were poorly made or shallow. And that is because the team assembled for UFO 50 are responsible for the likes of Spelunky, Downwell, and Frog Fractions. The quality and the variety packed in here is staggering. Every review I've seen has wildly different favorites, so here are my favorites in lightning speed. Let's go. Pilot Quest is a roguelike Zelda clone that's also part idle game. You can New Game Plus 15 times. I would have bought just this for $25. Party House is a super addictive deck builder strategy game. I also would have just bought this for $25. Rock on Island is real-time tower defense. I somehow went the whole game without knowing that fire doesn't just cook your chicken, it also buffs your guys and it stacks. Camouflage is a brilliant stealth puzzle game that I devoured. I wish there was more. Warp Tank is an NES action game that's also a Metal Storm clone. Vanguard is another NES action game that's also a Metal Storm clone, also Metroid. Night Manor is uninvited, but you're being stalked like in Clock Tower, low-key one of the best horror games of 2024. Elphazar's Hat is Pocky and Rocky with Shatterhands match 3 power-up system. That might sound like complete nonsense, but if you know, you know. Valbrace is Punch-Out or Cross Swords, but in huge dungeons, and it has a really cool magic system. Grimstone is a classic JRPG that is a horror western. I am 10 hours in and apparently only at the halfway point. I have sunk over 100 hours into UFO 50. And actually, while collecting footage for this video, I fell back into this game again, started rediscovering games I hadn't played in a while, and I am now well on my way to my 200th hour. Each game has gold and cherry challenges, and collectibles that decorate a little playhouse on the menu, on top of built-in achievements for the entire set. There's so much here, it is no wonder it took the team about 9 years to make the damn thing. I actually interviewed a couple of the devs back in 2017.
We're expecting to finish next year, so when it's all said and done, it'll be something between like 2 and 3 years to make all that.
Yes, I don't mean to bully the devs here. It was so worth the wait because there is something here for everyone. It is 50 solid games and you are bound to become utterly obsessed with at least 5 to 10. And 5 to 10 great games is still a value. It's still a deal. And once you've gone through all 50, there's the ARG surrounding UFO Soft, the imaginary developer that made all these games. Throughout the 50 games, you will find clues and odd things that you can input in the terminal on the pause menu. There are also cheats for certain games, but this eventually leads to a secret game. So counting this and the ARG, that is 52 games for $25. It was only on Steam until summer 2025 when it surprise dropped on Switch. In total transparency, I was given a reviewed code for the PC version right before I had some surgery last year, but this version I happily paid for with my own money. I may even fully simp for this game and buy the physical version too, my 3rd copy of this game. If I'm gonna spend that kind of money on a game, it's gonna be one I freaking love. I cannot recommend UFO 50 any higher. It is retro gaming perfection. Not to mention, will go down in history as one of the greatest deals in video games. I can imagine you're expecting me to talk about one of the many compilations that Capcom has put out lately. I'm definitely no expert, but it seems the jury is in on all the classic Darkstalkers, Power Stone, Marvel, and of course, Street Fighter that once again returned to stores. But Capcom has always been pretty good about re-releasing their stuff, especially their fighting games. Some other greats, like Mortal Kombat and Tekken, haven't been so lucky. With Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection, though there are some notable titles missing, hell yeah, Deadly Alliance, the GBA version. Both of them? Mortal Kombat is finally getting a classic compilation it has desperately deserved. So that pretty much just leaves Tekken. Where is the classic compilation for the King of Iron Fist? Well, right now, Tekken Tag Tournament 2 HD is, for some reason, still available on Xbox. Also, right now, you can still buy the Vita and PSP ports of MK9 and Deception for no readily apparent reason. But if you want a Tekken collection, the closest you're gonna get is Tekken 5 on the PS2. Unlocked from the very start are Tekkens 1, 2, and 3, so not counting 4 and Tag Tournament 1, which were also available on PlayStation 2, that is nearly the entire Tekken library up to that point. And today, it is still the most Tekken you can buy in a single purchase. The ports of 1, 2, and 3 are based on various arcade versions, the details of which are way out of my depth, but that does mean they are not the PlayStation versions, so you're not going to see any Tekken Ball, which I know that is a shame. Whoa, correction. For what it's worth, I guess Tekken Ball is back in Tekken 8. And I don't know, you could maybe make the argument that since each Tekken builds off the previous, you really don't need a compilation? I mean, it is wild playing Tekken 5 and then seeing moves and tech still kind of working on Tekken 1. I guess what I'm saying is, I really do not understand the excuse here. Legacy franchises typically honor their past. It's just what you do. Tekken's top dog, Harada, has been pretty cold on the idea of a compilation, but it stands the question. Why did you include these 3 games with Tekken 5 in the first place? Why was it suddenly a good idea just for this one. But then again, nowhere on the case do they actually mention, hey, you get 3 free games. We're really excited about Devil Within for some reason, but not that, hey, this is basically a legacy collection. Since when is Namco shy about selling you its old games? What is going on here? So unless another part of this video is suddenly going to need a correction, Tekken 5 on PS2 is the best you're gonna get for a Tekken Classic Collection. It is physical only, but unless you're trying to get a sealed copy, eBay and retro shops should be way cheaper than buying Tekken 7 or 8. Holy shit! Tekken 5 did eventually go greatest hits, which means that if you waited, you could have gotten this brand new for like 20 bucks. But there was another PS2 fighter that was 20 bucks right out of the gate, and it is one of the few fighting games I was kind of good at, and it is one of the best deals of all time, and that was Virtua Fighter 4 Evolution. 2002's Virtua Fighter 4 was Sega, fresh off its third-party existence, and was kind of a soft reboot for the fighter, at least in the West. The PS2 port became one of the highest-rated games of the generation, and sold really well for a Virtua Fighter game, especially in the West. But like all fighters, it needed its iterative, updated version with balance tweaks and new characters. This was, of course, the era well before downloadable patches and updates, so VF4 got its update in the form of 2003's Evolution. 2 new characters, a fun throwback mode to celebrate the 10th anniversary, and a massive and incredible quest mode. And when it came out in North America, it was only released as a greatest hits, but it was also only 20 bucks brand new. And when I say I was kinda good at this game, the only way I measure that is with the quest mode, which is essentially an insanely rich, dense, offline online mode. Here you work through different arcades and battle with what the game claims are fighters modeled after real tournament champs. You battle for ranks, you battle for money. There's tons of accessories, emblems, and wallpapers, essentially stuff that today would be mostly DLC or locked behind season passes. Opponents do get increasingly tougher as you work through each new arcade, and each arcade has specific tournaments and challenges. It's got ridiculous stats for your performance. Here on the advice menu, it says that my blocking and throwing needs a lot of work. The menus are a little clunky to wade through, but there is so much here for you. One reason I don't play a lot of fighting games is I feel most don't respect my time when getting to know the game. And I understand, like, the main audience for fighting games are people who already know fighting games. There's very little incentive to care about the noobs. It's mostly delegated to the content creators, and I'm not gonna gatekeep anyone's views. But when I tell people that I love Virtua Fighter 4, they all look at me like I'm crazy, like, dude, that's the hardest game to get into. And I'm like, is it? Because with the quest mode, VF4 Evo at least makes me feel like I am slowly learning, slowly getting better at the game. I don't know, maybe even at my peak, I totally sucked. But still to this day, I don't think any other fighting game has ever made me feel more welcome, explained its nuances thoroughly, and given me something to do between that very beginner and intermediate level. Like between here's blocking, here's jumping, and dash cancel to focus super combos. I need something in between that area because that's where I usually bounce off of fighting games. And you can probably tell by my footage here, I am super rusty. I'm maybe bigging myself up a little bit here, but I bought this game 20 years ago and I still hold it as maybe the closest I've ever gotten to good or decent at a fighting game. Though in 2003, I actually was in Japan, and being the little cocky punk that I was eyeballing a VF4 arcade machine, thinking about walking over and dropping in some coin, and my older brother, I think he actually put his hand on my shoulder and went like, dude, don't. You are in Japan, Gaijin. Don't do it. So instead, I found a Densha Daigo machine and embarrassed myself with that. Yeah, this was 20 bucks brand new. It is absolutely a full price game in terms of content, and I have always had a soft spot for Virtua Fighter ever since. Played a bit of VF5 Ultimate Showdown when it came to the PS4 a few years ago. I am definitely curious how this new Virtua Fighter could turn out, and it was VF4 Evo, making me feel welcome and only costing 20 bucks. That kind of made me a fan for life. Yeah, but what if you don't have retro consoles? Retro collecting is expensive if you're staying above sea level, if you catch my drift. What about old games remastered for new systems? Because, fam, let me tell you, the old is new again, and sometimes it is even better. While I did really enjoy Doom: The Dark Ages, again, it is $70 or $100. It is also on Game Pass, but that's not really the type of deal I'm interested for this video. And again, I don't care to break down the reasons why $70 is the new standard, or why $80 was almost the new standard. But there, you know what, there is an extremely rich feature-filled version of Doom for way cheaper. In 2024, for Doom 2's 30th anniversary, the preservation wizards at Night Dive extended their basically spotless record of reviving classic 90s shooters with the most classic 90s shooter, Doom. Now officially called Doom plus Doom 2, this is classic Doom perfected. At least outside of getting into the modding scene, it is classic Doom perfected for people in a hurry. I think this new trilogy of Doom games is pretty incredible, especially how each of the three plays pretty drastically different from each other, which is sight unseen for a AAA series to do in this day and age. But classic Doom is still one of the great triumphs of video games, one of the most well-balanced, aesthetically amazing, tightly controlled games ever made. Its legacy is no accident. Doom remains as fun as it was 3 decades ago, and on console, thanks to Night Dive and their Kex engine, it has never looked better, ran better, played better, sounded better thanks to a new soundtrack, or had more content given to you right out of the gate. Doom 1 and 2 is already a stacked set, but the master levels of Doom 2, both episodes of Final Doom, No Rest for the Living, and both of John Romero's Sigil campaigns are included in this set. And what this also means is, like, officially now, this is just all classic Doom. There are no additional downloads or purchases in bigger, more expensive bundles. This is genuinely one of the few times in history Dooms 1 and 2 were sold in a bundle. Finally, we are in the right timeline, because I guess going forward, this is just what canon classic Doom is now. It's all of this stuff. And for this release, there is another new campaign, Legacy of Rust, which is bonkers. Some of those maps are just out of control. I had a blast going through it. And this is a legacy, really. No Rest for the Living was a new campaign made for the 2010 XBLA release of Doom 2. Altogether, that is almost 200 maps, a majority of which are very good. For $10. It is, in fact, one of the best deals in video games. In total fairness, it's another version of Doom. They're selling it to you again, right? Well, if you already bought it, it was actually free. It was a free upgrade. You might not have even realized you actually have a better version of Doom waiting to be updated right now on your computer or your console. Plus, they are the first console ports with online deathmatch and co-op since the original iPhone and XBLA releases 15-20 years ago. And there are mods. Again, only a fraction of what you can find online, but there's still tons of whole new campaigns or just fun, goofy shit like Fist of the North Star and Bubblegum Crisis. Though the Switch port only has the featured mods, it's still a ton of extra content, but you won't be able to so easily access Chex Quest, lots and lots of FNAF stuff, and of course, crap. Lots of crap. Like, come on, this right here is supposed to be GBA Doom? No. And of course, a Bethesda.net account is necessary. Not a monetary cost, but there is an exchange of your data. Do with that what you will. And then for another $5, you can also get Doom 64 Remastered, which, depending on the day of the week, is my favorite campaign of classic Doom. Or hell, Doom's source code was released back in 1997 by id themselves. You want to save some money? Go ahead and make your own damn Doom. Not to mention Doom 16 and Doom Eternal go on sale all the time. Did you miss out on these Dooms when they were new? Well, get caught up while we wait for the Dark Ages to drop in price. Or maybe you've already played Doom. Well, Night Dive just gave the platinum treatment to Heretic and Hexen. I mean, if you're nasty like that. But they also brought back The Thing, Power Slave, Killing Time, PO'd. They freaking brought back PO'd. Night Dive are a bunch of maniacs who probably should be stopped, but they don't appear to be stopping, so they're definitely a studio to watch. And then, do you have any idea how many amazing indie boomer shooters are out there? $100 for Dark Ages? Yo, you could get at least 5 indie shooters for that price, more if they're on sale, which they often are. I like New Doom a lot, but regardless, better Doom deals are out there right now. Listen to me. Hey, look at me. Look at me. We are rejecting FOMO. Mainstream FOMO, fear of missing out. We are embracing missing things now. It is okay. There is stuff you already missed out on. Old stuff is still fine. Play the old stuff. It's gonna be okay. This right here is Half-Life 2 on the original Xbox, and it is the only time Half-Life 2 was ever sold by itself on consoles. Released in 2005, this Garbo amazing port is a time capsule of the very brief period between the PC release of Half-Life 2 and the release of the Orange Box.
You're staring at the Walmart of video games. The Orange Box has everything you want, some things you didn't even think you wanted, and all of them at a great price.
The Walmart of games. I know what he was trying to say, but dude really thought he was cooking with that one, huh? The orange box is Half-Life 2, Half-Life 2 Episode 1, Half-Life 2 Episode 2, Portal, and Team Fortress 2. I'm not sure why I'm telling you. It is likely everyone has this set. Whether or not you actually remember buying it, it's probably on your computer somewhere. But for context, this was the debut of Half-Life 2 and Team Fortress 2 on Xbox 360 and PS3, and released alongside both Episodes 2 and Portal. Yeah, this was the debut of Portal. Look at the case. Introducing Portal. Isn't that cute? Valve wasn't sure people would like it, so they just kind of tossed it in there as a little bonus. And in those early days, it became the most popular part of the orange box. What I'm trying to say is that Valve leveled the industry in October 2007, and it was all wrapped up in a single package. They were available separately digitally, but this is when people were still a little upset that downloading Half-Life 2 meant also downloading this stupid extra executable, some annoying thing called Steam? Ugh, so much work. But to this day, you can still buy the orange box on Steam. Also, used copies on console are rarely expensive. I'm not sure when this change happened, but today, you cannot buy Half-Life 2 by itself. On Steam, episodes 1 and 2 are bundled together for free. You get the complete, unfinished saga. And talk about Steam sales, Orange Box and Half-Life and Portal go on sale constantly. But I want to focus on how revelatory Orange Box was on release, because it is also a time capsule of another era, when there were limits to the size of digital games on consoles. Because while Portal is not a very long game, it, in fact, was too big to be a download for XBLA. However, at the start of 2007, it was being reported that an anticipated port of Castlevania Symphony of the Night was getting a special pass on Xbox Live Arcade's 50 megabyte limit. Yeah, only 50 megs, because at the time, XBLA was just Doom and Joust, like really small games. But the hype for Symphony of the Night on XBLA was real and was set to drop March 2007. However, just weeks before, weird coincidence, Microsoft suddenly raised the XBLA size limit from 50 to 150 megs. Microsoft's press release hyped up other XBLA games and made no mention of Symphony of the Night, but to anyone paying attention, it's pretty obvious what happened. Symphony of the Night ended up being under 100 megs, and that's with missing cinematics and compressed audio. And what does this have to do with Portal? Well, on consoles, Orange Box was a very big release on 360. Gabe Newell was very famously extremely unimpressed with the PS3 and let EA handle Sony's port, which by most accounts was yet another disaster for the PS3's early days. And the surprise hit of the package was Portal. Now this is a fun aside, but Gabe Newell was particularly vocal about his disdain for the PS3.
The PlayStation 3 makes my life as a software developer much harder. There are incredibly few programmers who can safely write code in that environment.
It is well documented, though for the record, Newell himself stood in front of a PS3 logo and announced Portal 2 for consoles at Sony's E3 2010 press conference.
If I seem a little nervous, it's because Kevin Butler was introduced to me backstage as the VP of sharpening things.
What a difference a few years can make. But back to the Orange Box and Portal 1. By spring 2008, the cake is a lie memes became so ubiquitous it would get its own Wikipedia page. It is in fact real, by the way. It's right there. You can go to Redmond, Washington and buy one yourself. And this was a triumph was an overplayed earworm, fast becoming nerd culture's Hey There Delilah. And Valve was starting to say that Xbox rejected Portal as a digital game for being too big. Not a great look. So then, again, randomly, who can say why? In May, XBLA's limit was bumped up again from 150 to 350 megs, just in time for an E3 2008 announcement.
The worldwide debut of Portal, still alive, a 2008 exclusive for the Xbox 360.
It would be the original campaign plus 14 new rooms for $15, though no extra story or dialogue from GLaDOS. But at the time, this was a big deal. At the event, Geometry Wars 2 and Galaga Legions got no love from the crowd. That's a cold room when Geometry Wars 2 doesn't get a pop. But the moment that GLaDOS starts talking.
Hello. We hope you've enjoyed your brief detention in the press event hall.
The crowd actually claps and whoops. This was another solid get for Xbox, and damn, it's like almost nice to remember a time when Xbox was just crushing. Even if calling it an exclusive for XBLA wasn't exactly true, it is just the Flash version map pack made official. But when Still Alive dropped in holiday 2008, the damn thing was 629 megs. almost double the new limit. What's crazy is that XBLA would raise its limit one last time to 2 gigs in September 2009, meaning if you look at the timeline here, for about a damn year, Portal Still Alive was basically a thick-ass booty taking up 2 whole seats for the price of 1. But what I'm getting at is, the next time you buy a cheap little game and download it to your system, you can thank the Orange Box and specifically Portal for being one of the games that muscled the industry to embrace original, cheap digital games. And one last update. You might have noticed I've not really talked about Team Fortress 2 at all, and that's because I assumed no one's playing that, but just for the hell of it, I clicked on it and god damn it, if on a Sunday night I didn't find a game immediately on my Xbox. That is crazy. Shout out to the real heroes still playing Orange Box Team Fortress 2 on Xbox. And I'm happy to say, despite the fact I have not played TF2 this decade, I was complete crap. I was a complete garbage. Look at me actually helping that damn team. And I'll be back. I think I will definitely come back and play a few more games. A very pleasant surprise, but okay, let's move on. Also, Portal's still really freaking good. I haven't played it in a while. Yo, Portal was such a tight, pleasant little gem of a game. I also hadn't really sat down and listened to Still Alive in a while because it was just so over-memed at the time, but that is a perfect pop song. It is flawless in how catchy the melody is, plus I love how sinister and creepy the lyrics are. But hey, speaking of great little gems for cheap with flawless soundtracks, Katamari Damacy. Yes, the humble beginnings of one of the most joyously silly series of all time. I mean, how else are you gonna sell a game with that title, with this cover, in 2004 North America? Don't forget that this is the console generation where no one would admit that Wind Waker was amazing because it looked like a cartoon, because of Toon Link. And this was September 2004, weeks after Doom 3 and Burnout 3, and only weeks before Half-Life 2, Halo 2, San Andreas, Snake Eater, and Resident Evil 4. Edgy, loud, serious, violent games. Yet somehow, Katamari Damacy found its audience. Maybe because it was so different, it stood out. Either way, it didn't hurt that it was only $20 new. I always thought that Namco must have taken a huge risk even thinking of putting this game outside of Japan, but no, it was sold on the cheap in Japan too. Man, so this was a worldwide bargain. And the reason for that is because it was also made on the cheap for less than $1 million US, which of course is a fraction of the cost of a Soul Calibur or a Tekken. Ah, rest in peace, Soul Calibur. The story goes, it was made mostly with students from Namco's game development school, which, I don't know, it just makes it sound like the students just weren't paid and that's why it was cheap. And that is just speculation from me. I don't know if that's true. It's just the made by students thing is always brought up and never really expanded on in the backstory for this game. But the whole thing for under $1 million, the soundtrack alone is worth that. It's one of the greatest of all time. I just hope that everyone involved got their due bread. And it actually set a precedent that Katamari games would seldom be full price. The 2005 sequel We Love Katamari was $30 new. 2007's Beautiful Katamari was $40 new, still a bit of a discount. But then 2009's Katamari Forever was $50, which is basically full price. But the re-rolled games, the remasters of the first two, are $30. And the currently forthcoming Once Upon a Katamari is listed as only $40. That is, unless you want access to the previous game's soundtracks, they're available on a $60 deluxe pack. In fact, the later games did start to get pretty lousy with DLC, maybe to make up for the low price. If you can resist buying DLC and special editions that you probably don't really need anyway, Katamari is, of course, a great series of games that has always usually had your wallet in mind. Oh, here's a quick one, and then I got one more, and we'll wrap this up. As I was making this, Panzer Dragoon 2 Remake was made public on Steam for wishlisting. This is a surprise because remakes of Panzer Dragoons 1 and 2 were announced back in 2018. The first one dropped in 2020, and it has been crickets on the second remake ever since. It might have to do with the fact that Panzer Dragoon 1 Remake was a contentious title, and maybe expectations have substantially lowered for the remake of the sequel. But either way, this is a better opening than I had originally written. We're talking about Panzer Dragoon Orta and the Panzer Dragoon Remake. I'm sure you know that Panzer Dragoon was a killer app for the Saturn, but it did get a port to the PC, and that PC port ended up being a bonus on the fourth game, Panzer Dragoon Orta. Orta, by the way, has been lucky enough to have been made back compat with every Xbox machine ever made, even getting great graphical enhancements on Series X. If you were in Japan in the mid-2000s, Panzer Dragoon 1 got maybe its most faithful and accurate port on the PS2 as part of the Sega Ages 2500 collection at a discounted price. But in the West, your best and cheapest deal was Orta for Xbox. And this brings me to this picture here. On Xbox, you can either buy Panzer Dragoon Remake for 25 bucks, not a bad deal, or Panzer Dragoon Orta for 10 bucks, a fantastic deal, for being a great game already, but again, featuring Panzer Dragoon 1 as a bonus. Your mileage will vary on the aesthetics. The version on Orta has a bit of a Vaseline on the lens look that buffs out a lot of the low poly charm of the Saturn original, but I've heard that Remake, while looking pretty fantastic, does not play very well, or maybe plays alright now after many patches and fixes. It is odd, however, that Remake seems to go on mega sale all the time. It's as if Remake's publishers are trying to undersell Orta. 90% discount. That is a steep discount. Again, this is speculation, just me observing things. It is very interesting, but either way, Panzer Dragoon 1, it's out there, and your wallet will thank you. Something else happened while I was making this video. Metroid Prime 4 got its release date, which is bonkers because that game was first announced in 2017. That is 8 years of development time, longer than it took to make the previous 3 games. But after the surprise drop of Metroid Prime Remaster in 2023, I thought one of the possible holdups for Prime 4 was porting the entire trilogy to Switch so that Nintendo can have all 4 Prime games on their digital shelves. It's kind of why I think Capcom remade Resident Evil 3, because they wanted to remake 2, and of course they got to remake Resident Evil 4, and you can't have a gap in the middle of that, or you can't shove a PlayStation 1 game in the middle of your run of HD Resident Evil games. So RE3 Remake was just collateral damage. The cost of doing business. But I mean, whatever, I actually really like RE3 Remake. Anyway, if you wanted to spend something like $80 or $100 on a game, make it one worth the value, because 2009's Metroid Prime Trilogy on Wii has always been an amazing deal. All 3 sizable Prime games on a single disc. The first 2 received motion controls, which are amazing. Once I bought this, I got rid of my copy of Corruption. I almost sold my GameCube copy of the first game, and it's why I've never bothered to buy Echoes on GameCube. Speaking of which, Echoes had his campaign tweaked to make it less difficult in Trilogy, and then all 3 of the games got little quality of life bumps. Even without the motion controls and the extra tweaks, this is all 3 games on one disc. That alone makes it one of the greatest deals in the history of video games. And I really expected Nintendo would have given the remastered treatment to Echoes and Corruption on Switch to release in tandem with 4, but as I sit here right now in September 2025, this appears to not be the case. And actually, Metroid Prime Trilogy is going to make me eat my own words here, because FOMO, fear of missing out. There are exceptions to everything here, because there was a very brief period in January 2015 where Metroid Prime Trilogy was only $10 freaking on Wii U. It was only for a week, but then it was only $20. So still one of the greatest deals of all time. And then Mario Galaxy 2 and Punch-Out got the same deal, 10 bucks for a week and then $20 after that. And now Nintendo is bundling the 2 Galaxy games for Switch for $70. And like I said at the top of the video here, it's not always fair to compare these types of things. It is still a pretty good deal, and there's going to be quality of life improvements. But man, Nintendo used to have Nintendo Selects. They would discount their first-party games eventually. There existed a time where you could walk into a store and get 2 shrink-wrapped brand new copies of Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 for 20 bucks each. Maybe 30 bucks each. But unfortunately, this is where we are at in 2025. I am looking forward to your comments in the future of how well or poorly some of the info in this video has aged. The amount of things I had to rewrite and re-record for this video was way more than I expected would happen, but that's just how it goes. And you know, speaking of deals, hey, it is only $2 to get into the Stop Skeletons and Fighting Patreon to get access to the Discord. You get videos early. We have our monthly poll for the Uncle Derek Underground exclusive videos for Patreon. Last month, we watched hours and hours of the Gaming in the Clinton Years reviews, did a huge stream on that. That was incredibly fun. The vote for this month's video is Death Crimson. And actually, now that I'm done with this, I gotta go set up my Saturn and my Dreamcast to stream some Death Crimson. I'm gonna make a Death Crimson video exclusively for Uncle Derek Underground for the Patreon. If that's the kind of stuff you want when hang out on the Discord, you want to get Patreon exclusive content. So it's only $2, but you know what? Just watching, telling a friend, watching with a friend, hitting subscribe and like. I'm supposed to tell you to do that. That is also supporting me in the process of making this video. My channel turned 18. I've been making videos now for 18 freaking years. and it is ridiculous that people still support me and still watch my stuff. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for all of that. There's more videos here. There's more videos on Patreon. It's Uncle Derek saying stay powerful, and I'll see you again real soon. Thanks.